I just made an interesting discovery that I would like to share with you. I just went back to grab the camera for that. So, as you might know, we have the chicken free ranging. They can go wherever they want and have their chicken coop as a shelter. And now let's see what I found. So here is the chicken coop, and usually the chicken are somewhere around here, and I was wondering why there is nobody. And I can understand why there is nobody, because there is no shade and no food. So I went inside to find out maybe they are taking a siesta on the inside. So let's have a look. Here's the inside, and you can see nobody is there except one, and that is our broody hen. She likes to sit there, and there's probably 1 or 2 eggs below. I just took out 2 eggs that were here in the other nesting box, but where are the other 4? So I found them, and let me close this properly. Hold on a second. As you can see, now you can see it. This is a little bit difficult if you only have one hand available, and you need to hold the camera with the other hand. So let's go and find them. They are hiding. So here we have that fence line, and I cut down a little bit, but they also themselves have been feeding here. This area also gets irrigated from the other side. My hope is that something will start to grow here, and it does. It's some pioneer species. And this, once we have redone the fence, which is one of the next things when it's a bit cooler, then this area will be an animal lane again. But now, let me show you where I found them. They're making some noises. You might already hear that. So here, in the thicker vegetation, there they are. Maybe I can take you a little bit closer without chasing them out of this area. The chicken is a forest animal, and this provides a little bit of shelter and shade, and there is something to eat around. There are bugs that they can find, so this is pretty important to them. And my hope is that in here, when we plant more, we can relocate the chicken coop into here, and then the chicken can live in this wannabe food forest, which I hope will become an actual food forest at some point. It's a question of planting more things, and of course we need more water to help this along for the irrigation. So right now, every couple of days I turn on these wobblers, but we are short with water and I need to prioritize. So technically it works, but now we are lacking the water. The solution is to dig and make more ponds, and that is what is planned. And when the money is available, I can then get the big excavator here again, and then we can do this. So right now we have some 150 cubic meters of water available that we can store, and we have the well at the outflow of the water reservoir also, and we are pumping every time the sun is shining water from down there into the pond, and then the pond also fills itself from below because it is connected to, yeah, let's put it this way, the water table. But still, we need to be careful not to pump it dry, because then we are going to have a huge problem. And I would love to also have an irrigation light here and extend that here to the other side. I mentioned this earlier in another video, so eventually that will happen. So the plan is, somewhere over there in the back we can dig another 300 cubic meter pond. We can make the existing pond bigger, and there are 2 other locations. Maybe I can find even more places where we can build ponds, and then we can interconnect them with pumps and pipes to make this more feasible, so that we can aggressively irrigate to get something started. And that seems to work. Water and sun and heat makes many plants grow, and once they are established, then things change. If you cannot give them a boost at the beginning, then nothing will happen. And this here, what I'm showing you, is our grey water pond. We are showering enough and also use enough water in the kitchen to keep this not well filled, but at least it's not dry. So this is a positive thing. And the self-seeded, I think it's cattail, is also coming along very well. The vetiver all around looks very good, but you can also see here to the left it is drier, and therefore the vetiver is not really thriving. So you can see the difference in color and also how the leaves look like. So this definitely needs more water, but it should find the water by going towards where the water is, so to the right side here, because the vetiver here is looking very nicely. And this is a little bit of a reserve, but we don't need it as it appears. So the moment we get around to build the fence in a proper way to finish this work, we can then let the horses and sheep in here. The issue is we can't let the blind sucker away go everywhere, because she will destroy weak infrastructure. We need to make it strong and right first, or else there will be trouble. And we had that already, so not eager to have this again. And here behind the house, and also here in front, so let me show you this first. So right here we have a patch of Bermuda grass, and it's making seed, which is nice. The idea is to have this whole area here as a future driveway be covered with Bermuda grass, and then we put some mats on it to reinforce it so that we can drive over it. And the other thing that I want to show you is here, thanks to the irrigation, the trees are growing. They have recovered from the initial damage, and of course there's a lot of other things growing. So soon I can come here and cut away again, because all this is biomass to cover the soil and make new soil. So now that we are not in scorching heat anymore, the high is now just 35 instead of 40. This seems to work out better. I need to be careful because the irrigation works, but if I cut away, then of course it needs more water because more will evaporate. So I try to balance that. And here on the other side you can also see a lot of Bermuda grass making seeds. So right here. And I also need to start cutting there to remove these things, and keep them down so that I manage the competition and also the succession. So I want this to be a grassy area, the whole thing. And same goes for this here. And the moment I step in here, there are a lot of insects coming up. So that is positive. We still need to remove these stones. We will do this the next time we put on the pellet forks on the backhoe, and then we can collect them and stack them nicely so that we can use them for something else. The grasses, especially Bermuda grass, is also conquering this part here, which is as I want. Needs some more cutting to manage the competition, as I said. The pond has gotten a little bit lower, so there is now more exposed, but it's not dry, and the dogs go here for a drink, and I think that this will hold until we get some rain. I hope in 2-3 weeks we should have gotten the first shower that will then mark the change of seasons. And here you can see where we had the fire that we thankfully extinguished very quickly because we had water available, and this area is more moist. So you can see here it was able to consume the dry matter. In there it didn't, because we had water available to keep this wet. These trees are also starting again. So this is the frost damage which held them back. And also here, the fire was on the other side, but then the moist grassy area did not provide the fuel, so the fire stopped by itself, which is very good. And I hope that the other trees also will sprout again, and it seems to be the case. Maybe the one there in the back, no, it also has, so they are somehow coming back. Will be interesting to see how they look like next year when spring starts again. But they are making new leaves, and from below. And they are not for wood production. For wood, this would be bad. For wood, we would have to cut them at ground level and start over. But here, this is for shade and biomass. So how they look like, if they are deformed or not, it doesn't really matter. And the other thing that we did, we managed to install this fence here. It's not done, but it is functional and solves the problem. The problem is that the dogs might think that they could slip under the fence and go out for a walk. We don't want this. It gives creates trouble for us. So we installed this. It's not done, and it's not a problem because we have the benefit of having this fence here, so the dogs will not go out there because they can't physically. And this is done in such a way that at some point we can finish this. And finishing means that we have to add more of these tensioners. There in the center, maybe 3 more. And then it needs 2 other fence posts there in the center, or in the middle of this segment. It's going to be those L brackets, the ones that you see there, but they are shorter and we have longer ones. And then we can tension this, and then we have a sturdy fence at the back of this dog enclosure. And maybe one word about how we do things. So as resources and manpower is very limited, we try to do things that provide a benefit as quickly as possible. So getting the material was one thing, and then putting it up the way it is now is another. So we have a benefit. Of course, this is not a finished fence. It's just something that you would call makeshift, but it does provide the benefit, the function. So it's really not a problem to leave it this way for a while. And We always have to balance needs and constraints and make do with what we have. And yes, it may sound like we are starting and stopping and ending halfway and we do not finish. Well, we do finish eventually. This is development, this is not construction. So there is not a blueprint and then we build something and then we hand it over to the customer and move on to the next project. This is an ongoing thing. And so it looks a little bit chaotic and things are not really planned, so it appears. But there is an overall vision how things are supposed to be or become. And we just go at the pace that we can afford. So keep watching. This is not a how-to channel. My intention is not to show you how to do things. But I guess the big message that you can take away from watching these videos is so that you can learn what it takes and what is involved and what struggles, hardships and difficulties are waiting if you're doing something in this kind. Of course, if you buy a piece of land and build a house and hire the professionals who have done this hundreds of times before, this looks different. But that's not our case. And most working farms are a generational project. So one generation started in the style of homesteading, you can call what we are doing like that. And then the third generation actually can use all the infrastructure and has it a lot easier. And we are the first ones. And therefore, things are the way they are. And I hope you don't mind the chaos, because the chaos is part of the message. That over there is one beautifully looking cloud. And there's rain, but it's on the other side. It's probably over in the next province, Valle, where it is raining. All around there have been thunderstorms on the radar, but unfortunately here at our place the sky is pretty blue. This is some remnants, and there on the other side of the mountain range it has been raining, and you can clearly see the effects of that. But we haven't gotten a drop. But we can certainly see that the weather is now changing, and soon we might get a shower here, and that will then also help us. I am irrigating at the moment, now that it's a little bit cloudy. There is less evaporation and the grass here is coming back. Partially it's based on seed that was in the ground, and partially it is what I seeded. The idea is to get this grassy, at least that strip. You can see how far the water flies. So all the way where the dogs dug a little bit of a hole to sleep in. That is what they do. So they like to sleep like that. Eventually this will be a an area completely covered by grass. And there where this strip is, there will be some trees. So that's what I want to do in a little while. Get some trees from a nursery here locally and add them. Let's see what they will have. The idea is to add some fruit trees here. And might be also fig trees. So something like that they should have. The horses and sheep there are being nice to each other. And Tuscarora, the white one, is helping the blind Sacahuea. So that's why we keep them together. It works better than with the sheep alone. But they also ask for their companion on the other side. So we have two on each side. We had to separate them because here is not enough food for everybody. And also we want to have them outside to help out there with their poop. So we are getting step by step into the greener part of the year, thankfully, and it's about time, because I've grown tired of this scorching heat of 40 degrees. Oh, and by the way, we got a trailer to put behind the Jeep. Works out beautifully. It's a small trailer, but still allows us to move some of the things. And now we have a way to do this instead of using the pickup truck, which is broken at the moment, and we can also not get a license plate for it here in Spain, because Spain doesn't want it. It's because of the age of manufacturing. They only want the newer cars. So if you import a car into Spain, it has to be younger than 5 years. This car is older. Yeah? The pickup truck is from 2010. Of course, I didn't know about this rule, because they're not so forthcoming about this. If I had this car registered in Germany, then this problem would not exist. So I'm just telling you this because I wanted to show you this nice trailer. It's brand new, homemade basically, costs 2,000 euros including VAT, and has all the things that you would expect, and it's kind of custom made from a nearby shop here. So I'm very thankful and happy with the result, and it should serve us well. And I can show you something of the inside. So I'm not going to open it here for the moment, because that way you can see the size of it. So the first job that we will use it for is to haul out all the trash bags that we have accumulated. So there is one for reference. And this will go out to a trash collection point in the next few days. And we can use it for all kinds of other things whenever we need to be on a public road, because you see it has the license plate, and it is the same that the Jeep is also carrying. So this is how this goes. So you put a trailer behind a regular car, and it shows the license plate of the car. And I had the opportunity to provide the right color, so they are now painted equally. So no, Jeep does not sell them. This is a custom-made thing, like it says there. And then you might ask, why aren't we preparing the soil and seed grass properly and all this to build a lawn here? Well, the answer is pretty simple. We are cheap. No, that's not the case. That's not the reason. The thing is, there's other things to do. And while we are busy with something else, the irrigation and the seed that is already there will do part of the job. So why work hard and do this with manual labor in the sun? This will come up nicely, all on its own. That is the experience that I've made in other places. So we just cut it frequently and let it spread, and eventually we have a lawn here. And there might be other modifications that we need to do here in this area. As you see, those tire tracks, the soil got compacted because of the dump truck and an excavator that had to go in and out here. Wasn't really planned, but now we have these ruts here. So the soil was already quite nice, and then they compacted it. So that was bad, but it will fix itself, I believe. So this is just because there's an opportunity and the irrigation is available. These wobblers are in their final position. At least they will be there on the wall. And when we have the big fence up here, it will be the industrial type fence, then they will sit in the right place, or in the same place. So this is basically, we need to do this anyway, and so we can also grow some grass here without any significant effort. So maybe in 2 weeks I come here and cut it again, and then it will fill the area. You see, there is the grass, and in there's also grass. So it definitely is filling this area, and it will also spread to the remainder of this area. I guess I should probably clarify one thing that I just said. There are other things to do, I said. And that's because this is not a working farm, and I'm not a farmer. I'm a software developer. I have to do other things in front of a computer and work in a project for a client. And all this activity is basically because I like to do this and I like to try new things. So my trade is not farming. I want to have a nice piece and also do some good. Yeah, a nice piece of land and also do some good. But farming is not my profession. I'm learning, and you can follow along and see all the mistakes and learn from these mistakes. And you might be inspired and do something similar on your own. So this is an interesting journey, but don't expect to receive farming advice because I can't give it. But I can tell what did not work. And that list is growing, which is a good thing because we will not make the same mistake twice. And then there's Angel, and he's not a farmer either, but of course, given this location here, he has worked in some sort of farming before. But we are not farming. We are trying to build something that evolves, and we are figuring out what might work and what might provide some benefit in the future. So this is quite different from other cases where people try to build a working farm and they have experience and they have worked before in this area. So in our case, we are new at this, and we are learning as we go.